Hey, what's happening, Disconviewers? Me, the Guy01, and welcome to this week's Versus episode on the Walkthrough channel. This week, it's Randy Orton against Logan Paul, the Viper against the Maverick. It's actually kind of fitting that it's these two facing each other, as they will both be facing each other at WrestleMania this weekend. Which, yes, it's WrestleMania this weekend, with Night 1 happening tonight. Which, based from what I'm seeing, I mean, Night 2 is like, it's almost like, I don't know how you would even bother with Night 1. I mean, everyone's going to be looking for Night 2, or looking forward to Night 2 more than anything. But yes, it is our weekly birthday versus. We had a few birthdays this week, actually. It was both Randy Orton and Logan Paul's birthday on the 1st. I actually did not know that they shared a birthday. Orton turned 44 and Logan Paul turned 29. On April 4th, it was Chelsea Green's birthday. She turned 33. On the 5th, April 5th, was Dominic Mysterio's birthday, turning 27. And on that same day, April 5th, Charlotte Flair turned 38. Yeah, remember Charlotte? She was supposed to be at this Mania, and if I'm not mistaken, the plan was that she was supposed to wrestle Jade, and that was supposed to be like Jade's first like solo match in the company. But then, you know, she got injured, so that didn't happen. And honestly, I didn't realize that Charlotte was in her late 30s now. I mean, I knew she started late. I mean, I remember, you know, interviews of her talking about how she started wrestling late. I mean, she was already an adult who basically already had a life and had a career before she ever got into wrestling. But I don't know, I thought she was still like in her mid-30s at the most. Like 35, 36. And, you know, when you kind of started thinking about, I mean, most wrestlers, they hit their primes in their 30s, and then by the time they're 40, they hit 40, they're basically on their way out. I mean, of course, they'll have your exceptions. I mean, like I just said, Randy Orton, he's 44. He's still going, but, you know, how many injuries has he had in the past 5 years that have caused him to, you know, have to take a considerable amount of time off? You've got people like AJ Styles and LA Knight who have been able to stay relatively healthy while they're in their 40s. But I mean, when you think about it, you know, you got someone like Steve Austin who retired before he ever got to 40. The Rock stopped being a full-time competitor before I think he even got to 30. Like, I think he was like, what, 29 when he retired in like 2002? How's The Rock? I don't remember. I mean, he stopped being like a full-time competitor in like 2002. You know, before he ever got close to being, you know, 40. So, you know, seeing that Charlotte is now, you know, almost 40, I mean, she could very well be approaching the end of her career, and, you know, she's still able to perform incredibly well, and, you know, better than almost any other woman in wrestling, but, I mean, again, like, who was I just saying? Like Orton, you know, how many times has she been injured, like, severely in the last 5 years? Got him. I mean, she was gone for, I feel like she was like gone for like almost a year at one point due to injury. I don't remember what it was, but it was like something where like she was gone for like, I feel like almost a year. And, you know, now she's gone again and is going to be out for most of 2024. And it's just like, I don't know. It just might be time to start wrapping it up. But anyway, getting into Raw. The Raw and SmackDowns before WrestleManias are always interesting because they're usually pretty light on matches. they're more about promos and moments, trying to get that last, bit of hype before WrestleMania. But these were actually pretty match heavy, for the go home shows, considering how they usually are. So we're starting off with Raw. Oop, hold on. The Judgment Day beat hashtag DIY in the New Day in an 8-man tag match. Sami Zayn faced Bronson Reed. The match was interrupted by Gunther, who attacked Chad Gable backstage before dragging him out to the ramp to cause a distraction. He then attacked Zayn to cause a no contest disqualification. I still, and this might just be me, but I still wish they would have gone with Gable versus Gunther. I mean, I feel like if it was, no one would complain. With it being Zayn, I'm proof that there's people who are, just wish it would have been Gable. But if you went with Gable, I feel like you wouldn't have had anyone be like, oh, I wish it was this other person. It's like, no, Gable was the one that I feel like everyone wanted. And the thing is, Gunther, I feel, almost has to lose at Mania. I mean, it doesn't feel right for him to lose at any other event other than Mania, kind of like Roman Reigns with the Undisputed title. I mean, I just don't see it happening at, even something like SummerSlam. I don't see it happening. I mean, I feel like it has to happen at Mania, and I feel like it has to happen at this Mania. I mean, WrestleMania 40, just like that round number, one of great significance. I just feel like it has to happen here, and it's because it's the record-breaking title reign. It's historically significant in itself, so I don't know. We'll have to see. My point is that even if if Zayn wins, Gable is going to be next in line, but I feel like it wouldn't mean as much if it happens as soon as SummerSlam or Survivor Series. And then if Gunther retains, against Zayn, and then Gable challenges him next, I feel like it wouldn't be right for Gable to then win at something like SummerSlam or Survivor Series. So it's like it has to happen here, and that means it's going to have to happen with Zayn beating Gunther. But who knows? WWE might pull a surprise and not have Gunther drop it. We'll have to see. Moving on, Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile beat Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. Ricochet beat Ivar. Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley got into another brawl, of course. Getting pulled apart by security. Same thing we've seen a few times before, even just between the two of them. It was just like that one final segment to build up that last bit of hype, which is what there was a few other promo segments from this past week kind of doing the same thing. Just trying to build up that last bit of hype and tell that last bit of story without, risking injury, which is probably good considering what ended up happening on SmackDown, but we'll get to that. Boom. You're done. I mean, I can finish him right here. He's done for. Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane beat Tegan Nox, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark, trying to build momentum for their big tag team match at WrestleMania. Damage Control, trying to build momentum. Okay, don't know what that was. And in the main event, Seth Rollins faced Solo Sikoa. The match ended with Jimmy Uso getting involved, causing a DQ. This led to Jay coming out to take out his brother, but then Jay got taken out by The Rock, who appeared. This then led to Cody Rhodes coming down to face off with The Rock, but Cody was then taken out by Roman Reigns, who made his first appearance of the night. And then it was just an extensive beatdown of both Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins by The Rock and Reigns, including an extended portion where The Rock just whipped Cody with his weightlifting belt. And that was the closing for the show. Just the Bloodline standing tall, which has become a reoccurring theme for these past few weeks on Raw and SmackDown, just showing the Bloodline just beat the crap out of Cody and Seth. Mainly Cody. Poor Cody. But, it's all, building sympathy for Cody and really making him that underdog that the fans want to root for. Which he already was. Don't get me wrong, he was already that. But this is just really building onto that. And I think what it's also they're trying to do is really make Rock the heel, because even on Raw, he kind of went back and forth between getting cheers and getting booed. Like when he first came out to open the show for a promo, it was basically all cheers. But when the show closed, it was basically all boos. And I think WWE were just trying to get that consistent, heel reaction from the fans, which, is hard when you're dealing with someone like The Rock. Especially when he's doing such entertaining work. But anyway, moving on to SmackDown. Now this was really interesting because, this is literally the night before WrestleMania. And there's a few people on the show who have matches at WrestleMania, so you had to be real careful with those guys to make sure that they don't get hurt. Cool. So, beginning with SmackDown, we had the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which was won by Bronson Reed, beating basically anyone who didn't have a WrestleMania match was involved in this. And this was the match that I was referring to earlier when I talked about not wanting to risk injury. Because there was something just about this match, it just felt like something was off with everyone. No one was performing at their best. The timing felt off just for a bunch of the moves. There were a few moments where I don't know if it was just miscommunication or people just forgot their spots or just weren't ready for it, but there was a few moments where just spots either just looked bad or could have gone very wrong. Like there's the one that stands out was when Ricochet, nearly had a terrible landing because he didn't get caught by Otis. Now, again, I don't know where the blame falls for that. If it's just Otis wasn't set in time or there just wasn't enough discussion beforehand that he had to be there or what. But there was a few moments where just stuff looked bad and it just looked like no one was like on the same page. But it's good to see Bronson Reed get a win. It's clear that they're still trying to build him up as a main event player, which he's going to need some help with that, considering he hasn't been really winning significant matches. So winning this should help him, but with the quality of the match and really not having that many what's the word? Not legitimate, or yeah, I guess legitimate. Not really any legitimate competition other than, you got a few fan favorites like Ricochet in there. You had Angel Garza in there. You had a few people in there. But yeah, it was basically just a filler match, really. I do kind of miss them having that match be like the kickoff for WrestleMania. Just to, allows those guys to, actually perform at WrestleMania instead of just being a match that happens the night before that no one really cares about. Because that's what I feel that match is becoming. The match for the wrestlers who have nothing going on and that no one really cares about, just to give them something to do. Because they don't have any stories going on. Like, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson were in the match. When was the last time they had any, thing of note? But anyway, moving on. Elektra Lopez beat Zelina Vega. After the match, Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio attacked Rey Mysterio. But then Andrade, who was at ringside with Dominic and Santos, turned on them, taking them both out and aligning with the LWO, joining Rey and Zelina Vega to close out the segment. So it's interesting to see, and there's also another part to this. Backstage before the match, Dragon Lee was found laid out backstage. It's not clear who did it. I think the implication was that it was like Legado del Fantasma. But now that you've got Andrade, saving Rey and taking on Legado, it seems that they're gonna. This is probably gonna get confirmed tonight or whatever. That Almas will be replacing Dragon Lee in the WrestleMania match. Now, what comes from that will be interesting. Is this him, are we going to get a double cross with him, betraying the LWO at Mania? Is Dragon Lee going to, pop up and, turn on LWO for so quickly replacing him? I saw some people throwing out Carlito might turn on Rey at Mania. We'll have to see where this goes. But it's good to see Andrade get a prominent story and role right away after his return, and it's also nice to see him and Zelina paired up again. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne beat Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Afterwards, the Judgment Day came out and took out both teams, again to build hype for that tag team ladder match at Mania. And in the main event, Jey Uso faced Solo Sikoa, but just like on Raw, Jimmy Uso interfered, ending the match in a DQ. Only this time, there was no Roman and no Rock to save Solo and Jimmy, but there was a Cody and there was a Seth. They came out and helped Jey Uso take out his brother, or brothers, Jimmy and Solo, to close out the show and give us our final visual before WrestleMania, with Seth, Cody, and Jey standing tall. And with that said, we're only a few hours away from WrestleMania. What are your last minute predictions? Will this be what we see? Randy Orton beating Logan Paul and LA... No, who's that match against? It's Orton Owens and LA Knight. So will Orton win the US title, or will Logan retain? Speaking of LA Knight, you've got him and AJ having their match. And of course, we've got the whole thing with the Bloodline. And Cody finishing his story, and Drew McIntyre. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on for WrestleMania on both nights. I said earlier, like night one, no one really cares about night one. There's good stuff going on night one, and it will be interesting to see. But I think night two is going to be the one that everyone's going to be really focused on, because that's that's the real main event of WrestleMania, the main event of night two. So it'll be interesting to see the direction WWE goes with all these stories, who they decide to have win, and yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and make new videos all the time. Stay tuned for next week's Versus and next week's episode of our LEGO Batman 3 walkthrough. Hope you guys enjoyed. Guy01 and Randy Orton signing out. Bye, guys.